anyways, this is going to be a quick flash video on marketing and how you can take your brand to the next level simply by just positioning in your customer's mind, right? Now, I don't see many people talk about this, especially in the home service game. So I'm going to drop some sauce for you guys. It's going to be 10 to 15 minutes. So just lock in, pay attention, and apply this to your business. And I promise you, you will see the results, especially in your market, right? All right. Keep it simple, bro. Branding is by far the most important form of marketing, right? When you create a company, it doesn't matter whether you're in pest, it doesn't matter whether you're in window cleaning, pressure washing. This is across the board. Branding is the tier of marketing that will take you to the next level because in your customer's mind, they either see you as a top brand or just a brand in the marketplace, right? I have what's called the Aloe effect, right? I teach this to all my clients. The Aloe effect is what you can use to position in the customer's mind you as a premium brand in your space. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're in something like, for instance, like my forte is window cleaning, right? Many people in my space undercharge because they don't know how to market and they don't have a solid brand, right? If you're charging for a service, if you charge the industry standard for whatever it is that you do, you are losing. And it's just a race to the bottom because as the economy fluctuates and as prices of other things go up, you must learn how to luxury upsell your service as well. It's with anything, right? Why do fitness coaches online sell more higher prices than fitness coaches like in person? Because they have their perceived value of their program higher than what someone would get just in a normal gym. You do the same thing with your service, and this is exactly how you do it, right? First, you must start off with the Aloe effect, right? What are you going to add to your service to separate from the marketplace? Whether this is your buying environment, whether this is an upsell that you're including that other companies aren't willing to do, or whether this is a completely new product that you create, you have to have something that separates you from your competitors, right? Why is Aloe such a luxury brand compared to, Gymshark, right? Realistically, quality wise, they're probably very similar, but Aloe has the brand positioning that the people that wear Aloe are luxurious. They're in shape, they're skinny, and that is the buying feeling that these people want when they buy the clothes. Same for your service, right? When they pay you for a service, they not only just want like a good service, they want good conversations. They want solid branding. They want good uniforms. They want people that they can tell care about their work, right? When I first moved down here, I did not know how to do window cleaning in any sort of way. First two jobs I ever did, I spent so much time on them because I didn't want to leave the house dirty, right? Customers see that. Two out of the three of my first jobs told me, hey, you really took your time with it. I can tell you care about your work. These are when you get tips. These are when you get good reviews because you're not just performing a service and then just dipping off into the sunset, right? You have to do this every single time you do a job. Now, who is your buyer? All right. This is what you have to realize. If you're selling a higher ticket service and that is your goal is to, have solid profit margins, not have to deal with the people that, don't have a lot of money, because most of the time, if someone doesn't have a lot of money, you're going to have to deal with, the hassle of scheduling, the hassle of, moving stuff out of the way. They're going to complain a lot. So you want to have a solid buyer psychology in your market, right? You have to frame your services to be different in the buyer's mind. If they see immense value in your service, you will hit the numbers that you want. I've sold some pretty high jobs out here that were probably realistically like $150 to $200. But how I upsell is when I'm selling my service, I'm not just having words, right? Words mean nothing without visualization. So, how you change the pricing for your business is, say I was selling a window and I'm in a market where there's a lot of post construction material going around. So, what I do is when I'm talking to the homeowner, I'm walking them around and showing them areas on their window that I'm going to get off and how I'm going to do it and how I'm going to prevent it in the future, right? And as I'm explaining this, I explain how each service is worth it on their end because it's saving them in the long run from having to file insurance claims, from having to replace full windows, from having to, go through the hassle in the future, right? You can do this with any service that you're selling, but you have to take the time to explain in depth to the customer why you are the solution and why they should continue working with you, right? Too high of a price does not exist if you anchor correctly. And this is what I want you to realize is most people don't pay attention to the marketplace in any way. If they did, Lululemon, Aloe, all the clothing brands would not get any business. They wouldn't, because realistically, they probably cost 15 to 20 bucks to make, and they're selling them at $140, right? Your customers aren't sitting there looking up, oh, what is window cleaning around me? Or, oh, what is pest control around me? They don't know, especially if you're doing door to door. They genuinely have no idea even what's going on in the moment or to how much the pricing is for your specific service. So you have to walk them into that pricing. Anchoring is everything, right? If you anchor high enough, you should feel confidence, you should feel conviction with selling under to get it done that day, right? If you're anchoring, say, oh, typically, if we're out here for a one-off appointment, it's $449, but since we're in the neighborhood and we're 3 doors down, I'll get you done for just $349, and we'll take off all the cement on the window and make sure it's looking brand new for you. See what I did there? So instead of being at 450 for a one-off, now we downsold, but we added in taking off the cement and making the window look brand new. That's a pain point out here that people didn't know about, that I make them aware about before I sell to them, right? Because this sell of a service is not like selling fitness, is not like, selling business. It is way different because there's not really a pain point that you can run behind. These people, most of the time, don't pay attention to their windows. They're not paying attention, to their house, or they're not paying attention to the bugs until the bugs are bothering them. So you have to make them aware of the problem and feed them the solution with massive value. And there's 3 ways to do this, right? Make their problem specific. I like to think of this the same way people call out their prospect, for instance, for fitness coaching, you're going to do the same thing when you're selling to someone either on the door or on the phone, right? Oh, I'm sure your windows, they have those spots on them because, all the new development, they're putting up houses left and right down the road. All of that blows over, especially with how windy it is in Florida. We take care of that. We not only take off the cement, we not only take off, all the other knots and stuff from the trees out here because it's just so messy, right? But we actually add the protective coat, and this protects you from not only your windows getting scratched, but the sprinkler hard water spots. I know you guys have called someone out before, and that hard water spots just built up from the sprinklers because they would come and clean and it just shoot everywhere. We add the protective coat. This prevents it because that water is just going to slide right off, just like a rain jacket. You're familiar with Rain-X, correct? For a vehicle? Yes, I know what that is. Same thing for windows, just on a better quality. It's more tough, more resistant. That is what we do. See how I just did that? I just made them aware of something that they need because they're sick of paying money and not receiving the value that they think they should get, right? Adding upsells for free, you should do this, but you should know exactly when to do this, right? If I'm at the door or I'm on the phone with somebody and they ask me, like, I just feel like I don't really need it done. Like there's no point in getting it done because it's so messy out here. I just have to keep getting it done. That's where I would be like, okay, what we'll do then is, and this is how you got to know exactly when to do it, because this is a 2-story home, or say pressure washing, you're doing a driveway and it's just not worth it. Don't do it. But if it's a single story, or if it's a small walkway for pressure washing, or whatever industry you're in, you know what I'm talking about. Add it in just to get the job, because you have to realize every single job that you get is a review and good word of mouth on your side, right? If you want to move fast and you want to take over your area, you must start by taking jobs other people won't. Add in your upsells, do extra work to get better reviews, to get better service, because your service, especially in a service industry, is the number one word that you have to perfect. It doesn't matter if you can make sales if your back end is horrible. So add in the upsells for free, make them customers feel like you are fighting for their business, right? Branding. I kind of touched on branding a little bit at the beginning of this video. Branding is the most important part of your business. And I'm not just talking about, logos or anything like that. You have to have an official look. This is why people like Mint does well, Glide does well, me with Peak does well, because we have simple branding. There's not a bunch of like crazy logos, animals everywhere, like I see the one dude, like the Reach guy, he's got a giraffe on his, like, bro, don't do any of that because it looks corny. You don't want to look corny in a marketplace full of men and full of, high value people. They don't want to look at giraffes. They don't want to look at, weird animals. Like that doesn't even make sense. Keep your branding simple. If you can't put it on a shirt and wear it to a dinner, that's not branding. That's what you have to realize, right? Keep it simple. Like literally mine, Peak, is literally like a 4-letter word. I can use it in any sentence and it describes how I'm going to make their house look. It describes how I'm going to make them feel. It describes the type of service that they are getting. It's peak service. Peak means exceptional. Keep your branding simple and add your own twist to it, right? I did exterior pros because we're professionals and we work on exterior. Do something similar to that, but specify it specifically for your industry, right? Regardless of popular belief, you cannot price per paint or whatever your industry pricing, because if so, you'll always stay broke. And I touched on this a little bit up here, with the selling environment, but you have to be willing to charge high ticket. The same way people do it with fitness coaching, the same way people do it with mentorship, all these things, you can do it in person. You just have to have the right market. There's very few times where I'm selling and they're like, oh, that price is just not good. No, because if you sell correctly and you add the value, you won't deal with price objections. You literally won't. And if you're having the problem where you have to keep down selling to like $199, bro, think about this. I'm going to ramble for just a second, but don't click off because I promise it's worth it. If you're literally selling a job for $199 and you're paying out either a rep or a technician 30% or 20 to 30, you should be paying at least 25 to your techs or service people, because whatever. But if you want to have a good job and you want, a solid business, you can't be charging $199 for all your jobs. You're going to be profiting like $150 every job. You need to be upselling to $299, to $349, to $399. Those should be the target areas you're shooting for, because over time you're going to have to pay people out, right? Let's move on. There's not many people doing these types of things in home service. You can simply do this by one clean word. This is why I love the simple words like Aptiv, like Mint, like Glide. Like I could put 3 words right here to give y'all some sauce. Shine would be a perfect one, right? Strive, you could do, what's another one? I don't know, bro. You could do so much, like you could do so much with just your branding, as long as it sounds good and you're not doing too much. Don't add any like crazy characters. Don't add any crazy avatars. You don't need to do that, right? If you want to be big time, you have to be willing to appear to any audience, whether a smaller area or $1 million home. area. And this is why you can outwork your environment, because most people get stagnant when it comes to not only their service, but how they treat their customers, right? Are you sending texts? Hey, I'm on the way. Hey, walk around the home with me. I want to make sure everything looks good. If you see even the smallest spot, don't worry, I'll retouch it up. They have to literally feel like you are working for them. And if they do, you'll be able to compete in not only the smaller areas, but the $1 million areas, because they realize that, hey, the owners just aren't sending some random person out here. They actually care about my business. Conviction is literally built through your proof of concept. You must come out believing that you can outcompete the top guys in your space, even when you are starting out. I'm in a very saturated market in Southwest Florida, but I'm literally looking at the top of the competition and I'm like, what do I have to do to shrink that window between me and them? Right. Most people get complacent, especially once you start getting like over 100 reviews and, you kind of start getting easy calls. They stop really grinding towards, the building part of the business. You should want like 1,000 reviews in like a year, like something crazy. Like the top people in my area have 1,200 out of like 40 years. I see that and I'm like, that's unacceptable, right? I want to get to 1,000 this year. I'm already at like, I think 90, 80 or 90 at this point, and I've done that in 2 months. You should be like absolutely like insane with what you want to get accomplished, right? Speed run your market. Be upfront with your customers, work for free sometimes if you need to create connections. And if you ever get a bad review, do whatever you have to make it right. This is what I don't understand, right? You'll see people on here, and especially in this game, that'll get a bad review and they just accept it. They're like, oh, it's on me. No, I'm going to that customer. I'm talking to them. I'm refunding them. I'm asking them, what can I possibly do to get this review taken down? I'd give them even a free year of cleans, because if you can't keep a 5.0 across the board, as you grow over time, people are like, how does he have a 4.7? Like, what happened? They look at those 1 stars and that affects their buying decision. That's what you have to understand. You should have only positive reviews. People should be willing to write you a paragraph because your service is so good. Use official brands with your name. If you do these correctly, I guarantee you can compete in your market and set up new standard for your business. What I do a lot of the time is I'll get Nike shirts, or I'll get, nice golf shirts, and I'll just print my branding on them, right? I'll literally set myself up to look like I'm a franchise. I'll set myself up to look like I'm the top company in the US, specifically by my branding. These are things you can add in. If you literally just watch this video multiple times and you implement this, I guarantee you can at least 3x your business, not only in the numbers aspect, but how fast it moves, and then also how well you're respected in your market, right? I've been working with some of the top guys in this area, literally just from starting out, from bringing my company from Virginia down to here, all by how I carry myself and how I position my brand in the marketplace, right? We already look like we're the top brand here. And I'm not saying that to be I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm not saying that with any sort of ego. I'm just saying because we're literally like acting like we are. Like we pull up, like we did a Chipotle the other day, bro. Commercial cleans, interior and exterior, you low key like have to be skilled to be able to do them. You have to have, good equipment. You have to know how to handle, the area, especially with customers coming in and out. And you have to do a good job because you have people watching you in that area. But you can do this. Add all of this to your business. Drop a comment. Let me know, if you have any questions at all. This is just a short, piece of what my clients get in my program. I'm just going to be dropping all this stuff for free. So make sure you subscribe so you can see me again. I'm going to have even more niche content coming in the future, and this is just going to be absolutely unreal. So if you guys are scaling in any area, I know I can help you. If you want one-on-one help or you want a free business audit call, just book it in the bio. Click the calendar link, book a quick call. I'll be on the call. I'll be able to talk to you and help you out in any way that you need. Other than that, I hope this helps, boys. And I'll be posting probably sometime this week. I'm gonna be putting out 2 to 3 a week of just niche content to help you guys scale. So make sure you subscribe. Other than that, man, we out.